Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Hello, hello, hello. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt completely lost? You know, seeking purposeful direction that could and should propel your mission within your divine journey to that next level, but still it hasn't happened. Well, my name is Loren Harris, and I'm the founder of P3, the Journey Series. People come to me because they're wounded. Many are scared, and even there are those who are bruised simply because they feel that they are increasingly, for whatever reason, losing their ability to dream. Now, this P3 program is not for a person who's just looking to start a business, no, but rather for those of you out there who have been on your journey and you've been navigating within your divine purpose, but you still desire to elevate to that level that you have not reached yet. If this is appealing, if this describes you, then I want to have a chat with you. I want to hear your story. So use the link below to get registered for your free seat at P3, the Journey Series. And let's get started, one story at a time. I'll see you inside. Click the link.
Before you get it, baby, show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind. You walk right past me, pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight.
Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Where'd that come from? Am I channeling Uncle Walter? Hey, bro, Uncle Walter, rest in peace. That was my guy. He used to sing, wow, you just never know. You know, you wake up and when you're open, when you're an open receptacle to just all things magical, things like that happen. And no, that was not a senior moment, nor was it had anything to do with my ADHD. I'm just saying. Hey, you guys, good morning. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. It's the Tuesday edition, and I'm still Dr. Loren. Yesterday, as many of you know, here in the States was a holiday. Kind of bittersweet holiday for a lot of us because it officially marks the end of summer, and you can feel it. I'm serious. I have a jacket on. I went to the health club this morning and here in Chicagoland. But hey, for everything, turn. Right, there's a season. There it is. Just like that. I rang the bell of purpose because I do it on purpose with purpose because just like that bell has a ring to it, so does the truth. And I want you to pick up every morsel of it while you're in here today. I've got a great guest for you. No, I'm not going to try to do an Australian accent. I know. I wish I could. Wait, maybe I will. No, because it always sounds really crappy, like a really crappy English accent. That's what they tell me. Anyway, our girl today, Janelle, she's classing up the place. Classing. Get it? Classing up the place. Oh, that's what I love about my ADHD. Even if I'm the only person around, there's still a party of one. So anyway, there you go. Welcome to the show at this point. Before we get our guest in, last piece of business, almost. My sidekick, Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo, been here with me every morning, Monday through Friday for 8 straight years. Pumpkin. That's the flavor. I'm ruined on flavored coffees. I cannot drink regular coffee anymore. So I want to say this. If you are in today's the 3rd, in 5 days, I'll be in Albany, New York, speaking at the New York State Mental Health Conference. If you're there or in the area, I'd love to see you there. And then moving over to Kansas City, Missouri, coming up on the September 12th through the 15th for the Becoming the Better You an annual event. I'm always there, and I love it. Can't wait to get there. Can't wait. Last thing, y'all. What day was it? Saturday. I went looking for some shoes for my thing in Albany, New York, and something for Kansas City. And then I ended up finding the jacket for my MC gig here in Chicago at the Matrix Club coming up also in October, first weekend of October. So all from the same store. I got everything I needed. It was just beautiful. I love those people. Shout out to, dang, I've got to remember their names since they're my store. Anyway, now that really was a senior moment. Listen. I've had a lot of nurses and nurse-related, health worker-related guests over the years. But I don't think I've really had someone that fits the bill like today's guest. Like I said earlier, her name is Jeanelle Classen, and she is a FIFO. Now, for you in the food service industry, that means first in, first out. I wonder if it means that for her. She's in Australia, so it's probably not. Okay, and we're going to find out. She's a wife. She's a mum, not to be confused with the flower. That's how they say mom over there. Yes, I speak Australian. Anyway, she's an author, and she's a registered nurse who is passionate about beating and preventing burnout. She wrote and published, self-published, I should add, her book, Nursing the Nurse, the ultimate 6-step guide to beating burnout. Now, this was back at the beginning of 2023, and since then, she's launched a signature walkthrough program of the same name, as well as the wellness app, Nursing the Nurse Holistic Huddle. Now, this incorporates a holistic approach to the unique needs of the shift-working nurse to go from surviving to thriving, both at home and at work. Changing work, in my opinion, from a 4-letter word to something you can live with. So she's never been here. I don't know what. I think it's in the afternoon, like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. That's right. I think I remember that. So she's headed up the hallway right now. Put your hearts on the screen, won't you? It's our virtual way of saying welcome and good morning, good afternoon, good day, no matter where you are. Here she comes, Miss Janelle. Oh, sorry, girl. Dang. Nurse Janelle. Man, touchy much?
Hello.
Nurse. Oh, let me dress things up for you, nurse. Here we are, Janelle. How are you today?
I am very, very well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Yes, we're happy to have you here. Now, you guys, she is way on the other side of the earth, literally, from where we're at. So a lot of little particles going through the air, so she should pause and then go back like that. That's just the way it is. Stay tuned. Don't you dare drop off, okay? So you heard me say a little bit about you, but I like to leave and give the guest just about 60 seconds. You don't have to take it all, but I'll be standing by backstage and just pour into people kind of what's on your heart, why you've come to this place, this intersection in your journey, if you will, that you're here to talk about today. So I'm going to dip out. You take it away. It's all you. I'll be back when you're ready.
Well, hello and welcome. And thank you so much again for having me. I am Janelle. I'm a registered nurse and mum. I've been introduced, so thank you so much for that, Dr. Loren. At Nursing the Nurse, we are passionate about beating and preventing nurse burnout. I strongly believe that nurses just don't get taught the skills needed to create a sustainable work-life balance, despite the shift work demands. And so I'm here to balance that out, and I'm here to tell my story and get what I have to say in front of the world, really. So essentially, we just take a holistic approach. As nurses, we are taught to always take every aspect into consideration for our nurse, for our patients, but we forget to do that for ourselves. So again, that's what I'm here to do. And yeah, I'm excited to talk more.
I know she was like, okay, hurry up, come back. Hurry up, come back. I don't like being out here by myself. Right. I feel you. Well, great. That's awesome. So one thing, let's just get right to it. I need to turn my light up or something. I feel like I'm not bright enough. Oh, they just told the angels just said, you're right, but it has nothing to do with that light.
Oh dear.
Honey, ha ha, boo. So anyway, they have a great sense of humor too, by the way. For those of you who did not know, angels have a great sense of humor. Just saying. So, Janelle, in order for people to talk about things and, bring an antidote, if you will, to the poison, they have to have first been stung in most cases or bitten by whatever it is that delivers that particular poison. So in your case, take us back to when you were bitten. I mean, your spirit swole up. You knew, I'm full of poison. What did that look like? How did it look? What did it feel like? And what did you do about it?
So nurse burnout, big issue. It's a worldwide thing. I started my nursing career at the end of 2019, so just before COVID.
What did you say about Korea?
Yeah.
You said Korea?
Career.
Oh, career.
Yeah.
I thought you said you were nursing in Korea. I was like, girl.
Australian accent, which, by the way, reminds me, I'm not first in, first out.
Yeah, what is
fly
that?
in, fly out wife.
Oh, fly in.
Which means my husband works away, and then he comes back and works away again and comes back.
You know what I thought? I thought you were just being funny and were saying, yep, he divorced me. You know what I mean? Right, like he got rid of me for somebody. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
fly in, fly out, y'all.
Yeah, so not quite that easy.
Were you a visiting nurse kind of
Say that
thing?
again?
Were you in the States? We have a thing known as visiting nurses.
No. So I've done a little bit of everything, really. I started my career as a rehab nurse. I worked in the brain injury rehab ward, and I've gone on to work in all areas from general practice, so GP, all the way through to aged care, ICU, emergency department, and most recently been working in the dialysis unit.
Take a picture. I have to take a picture for my wall.
That's fine.
Sorry, I do. So it's a new thing. I'll send you a copy. So I know over here in the States, oftentimes the average shift. Some nurses work 4 days and they work 12 hours. When I had my knee replaced, I loved my nurses. I just loved them. Interestingly enough, my favorites were all on one shift. They just had a different vibe.
Yeah.
It was the people that were home at like 11 at night, but they were there during the main part of the day. Yeah. They did most of the work. That's what I'm just saying. Because people had to have baths and this and they had 2 meals they got to feed them and all that. Or work those 14 hours or something like that, 12 to 14 hours. What is it like? What's the typical rotation for nurses in your country, Australia?
Yeah, so our shifts range anywhere from 6 hours to 12 hours, depending on the area that you're working. Most often it's 8-hour shifts during the day. So we've got 3 shifts over the 24-hour period. So it's 8.5 hours, and then overnight is closer to, I think, 10 hours off the top of my head. In ICU and emergency department, they tend to be longer, so about 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours, depending. So and then they obviously, again, in those acute areas, they like to switch it up every 4 weeks. You're on nights. And so that's, again, just the classic shift worker lifestyle of going between morning and afternoon shift, and then back into nights, and your body's just all over the place, which is one of the main things people struggle with.
Tell me what you feel about this. I have a lot of nurses in my family and medical. They're doctors, nurses, nutritionists, people like that all women in my family. And they were saying that, and then I did talk to a few nurses here on the show during COVID, that COVID woke a lot of nurses up to, man, I was used to 12 hours a day for 4 days or 5 days, but COVID just like wrung the towel out. A lot of nurses started looking for a different career path. Right? How was it for you, and especially being in a different country? What was it like for you all over there?
Yeah, so exactly the same thing, and that's something I find all the time is same problems, different environment. Same problem, different environment, and it breaks my heart. I see so many nurses leave the industry because they think they're either no longer cut out for it, or they're like, I give up, I need to get out. It happens so often, and it's a career and a lifestyle that they've loved their whole lives or wanted to strive towards their whole life. So for me, what happened is within 6 months of starting, I burnt out, because lo and behold, I started just before COVID hit. So what happened for me was I started noticing, okay, I'm loving this job. I'm doughy-eyed, this is a great time. But then when I started noticing, it kind of coming loose at the end, and I started seeing some red flags pop up, like I was starting to call in sick to shifts just to have a break. I started to, neglect my health, in like I wasn't eating well, I wasn't planning my meals, I wasn't exercising anymore because I was just so exhausted. I would get home and I'd be like, no one talk to me, just leave me alone. Even I was like, there's this huge culture. I don't know what it's like in USA, but I do know that here we've got a little bit of a drinking culture around, this is how I unwind, or like, I can't wait for that bottle of wine at home.
That's here. Oh, that's me. Right around 10:30 this morning, I'll start thinking that. I'm kidding. I try to wait till 5.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So you look.
So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. So are you telling me that you began nursing right before COVID?
Yeah.
So how many years have you been nursing? Not even 5.
Just under 5 years.
So there's some nurses who've been nursing for 20 years now going like, girl, you don't know nothing about burnout. You should have been here. You should have been a nurse during the AIDS epidemic. You should. Oh, I've heard from some. Have you ever talked to any nurses from?
No, not yet. I haven't had the pleasure.
I met a lot of older nurses who knew how to pivot during COVID because they had dealt with it in the 80s as young nurses like you. They were like, I was a brand new nurse. AIDS came along. Boom, 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 boom. And it really, I'm going to tell you, things like COVID or anything like that, and even burnout, regular burnout, I think it speaks to the person who is the nurse, the male, the female, whoever it is, about the difference between a job and a calling.
Yeah.
Because I feel if you're going to be an effective nurse and not get burned out and not put yourself last and all these other things, you have to realize it is a calling because you're holding space. You're healing, not just from what you learned in school, but for the things your spirit brings. So let me ask you this. How much of your burnout do you attribute to not properly or not knowing how to or not having been prepared to separate work from home? You might go home and take your scrubs off, but you couldn't scrub off everything.
No.
Talk about that if you would.
Major trauma and what do you call it? They call it compassion fatigue. And, you know, you deal with so much, exactly like you said, you deal with people at their highest moments, at their lowest moments, and everything in between. And I know for me, what happened is I asked my superiors, hey, I'm seeing these things happen, and I'm seeing nurses who have been nursing for 5, 10, 20 years at the time of me starting. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to become this bitter, you know, nurse that just hates her work.
Did you say bitter bitch?
I mean, potentially. I just didn't want that. And I was like, that's not for me.
I ain't trying to be no nasty ass bitch. Right. Yeah. I get it. I didn't
want that. So, I asked, what can I do? And she said, this was the turning point for me. She said, get used to it. It's not going to change. And I was like, what do you mean it's not going to change? And this is obviously me like, what? This is like a death sentence, essentially. I said, look, we need to do something about it. Like, what if I did a quality improvement project? And in Australia, a quality improvement project is essentially like a mini research project where.
Say that again. I'm sorry. What quality? Project. Okay.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, let's set this, let's create this, and we can identify what are our stresses, how can we improve this, and what they just went and she's like, no, don't add that to your to-do list. You know, you're just new. Now, if you get to know me, I'm not just going to let things lie like that. So of course I went, and that took me on a journey, because going back to your question about what attributed to my burnout. I was underprepared, I was under-equipped, and so are most, if not all, nurses. It gets absolutely drilled into us from the get-go. You ask a nurse, what is the first thing that they teach you in nursing school? And it's documentation. Document. If you didn't write it down, it didn't happen. P.S. Look after yourself, but there's nothing about how to look after yourself. And so that's why when I was hearing from my superior nurses, my senior nurses, get used to it, it's not going to change, I was like, well, something's got to change.
So what was it what kind of blemishes? Well, I'm trying to look at the right word, look for the right word. In your senior nurses, could you see any blemishes on them, on their spirits, based on burnout, and they just didn't know because they got used to it? I mean, were they complaining about health issues? Were they not happy at home? Was their bedside manner booty? You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, you know what I mean? Yeah. They could become calloused or desensitized, I would think, pretty easily.
Oh, yes.
So tell us what you saw. Tell us what you saw in your senior peers that you did not want to become, and you knew it was due to most likely some form of burnout. What kind of things? What'd that look like, Janelle?
Well, how many nurses do we know whose personal relationships have breakdown? And it's because they struggle to do that whole separation of work and life. You know, because it's a female-dominated industry, I'm going to talk to women. Obviously, male nurses, fair enough. We love you guys. But female-dominated industry, usually they have got multiple roles that they play outside of the nursing role. They are a mom, they're a partner, they're, wife, mom, sister, everything. And we are so hardwired to give that we run on empty all the time if we don't know how to look after ourselves. Something that I always teach and say is self-care is a buzzword unless you actually teach the skill of self-care, because self-care is a skill and it's a muscle that you got to practice. If you don't practice it, you can't do it. So yeah, that's absolutely, they like you said before, nurses, my senior nurses at the time, and retrospectively I can identify it now, obviously in the time at the time I couldn't, but they had relationship breakdowns. Many of them were either going through divorce, or they were having relational issues, or they, again, health is struggling. Oh, I'm not sleeping well. I am, gaining weight. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I've now recently been diagnosed with diabetes. It's just so many things that burnout or shift worker syndrome is a major thing. And if we don't know how to manage it, things start falling apart, and we wonder why nurses are leaving the industry.
A lot of people aren't aware, unless you're up close and personal, of how high the divorce rate for nurses is, and how many nurses suffer from some form of addiction from their work. Alcohol, drugs, even as a licensed person, I was shocked when I heard that, and also food, things like that. They're just so, shopping, all kinds of different things. So I'm really interested, and I think it's just that you're just brilliant, that you were like, hold the phone. Not me. Not going to happen. So what was the first thing you thought needed to be changed in order to avoid this burnout or to reverse it?
I didn't know what needed to change. I felt so lost, especially after the first thing I thought was, I should just go to my superiors. And as we've already discovered, they didn't want to know, or they didn't know themselves. So I had to pretty much start from scratch, and I did the classic Dr. Google, how to deal with burnout.
Why did I just see you going into like the break room where a bunch of older nurses were like, hey, I'm going to have I want to talk about burnout so that we can avoid, and they're looking at you like, and then they look at each other.
Look, I had that in the beginning when I was trying to share things. I did have it. I did have that, something similar. But
I bet. I bet.
When I finally found things that was working, and I was kind of like sharing, hey, I found this thing, like, what do you think? And I had one nurse, she's fantastic. I don't talk to her anymore, but we talked for a long, long time after we worked together. She was a nurse of 15 years, and she was at a crossroads of, I either need to leave the industry or something needs to change. And after we worked together, and obviously at that time I hadn't even worked, I think I was maybe 3 years in, so this was 2 years ago. And we worked together for 6 weeks, and she just at the end of it, she was like, thank you so much for sharing these strategies that are actually working, that I'm actually able to implement for myself. Because when I went to Dr. Google, I didn't find anything that was useful. It was all tailored to either CEOs or full-time stay-at-home moms or whatever that wasn't a shift working nurse. And it was so hard for me to go, like, I know this is going to work for me. It was I had to pretty much trial and error everything. So I did coaching, I read books, too many books, too much coaching, way too many videos. And what I realized is I need to start finding and identifying what are the things that are actually making the difference for me, instead of just trying, shotgun approach, let's hope something works. I actually was very, very conscious and very systemic about how I was going to try and find a system that works for me. And then eventually when I realized, this is working, I was like, right, I need to share this with others. And as I started sharing it, I started seeing people coming back with some great things. It was awesome.
Oh my God, you're on TV. Look at you back there. Look at you back there. Oh, let's shed some light. We're at the bottom of the hour, and I'm okay. So, and I'm gonna just say this, and listen up, everybody, because Janelle, I don't know if you know this or not, but you know you have a template here. You could take this so many places, and we're about to turn the corner into your free offer and some of the things you have available for people today as resources. So I know for a fact, because I get called a lot, especially at the beginning of my career, to speak to educators in the special needs sector, special education, high burnout rate, all the things that you're talking about here, those warning signals, the fallout, the destruction across the board. It's same, you might be going to a different prom, but you're dancing to the same music. You're doing all the same dances. So a lot of places you can take and help people with this, not just nurses, but I'm sure you know this already. So let's go to this. What about people who aren't willing? Because people are motivated by different things, Janelle. Some people might be burned out because I need that money. I got 2 kids in college. I'm a single mom. He left us high and dry. Somebody else is trying to get to director of nursing or whatever. How much of this burnout would you say, or how important is motive to the overall?
Motive to be burnout?
The motive to, your motives, if you're, I got to have another dollar. I got to have another hour. I got to pick up that extra shift. Some people beg for burnout. Yes.
Yeah.
And then some people get burned out because they don't realize it.
Yes. A big one is people don't know, and that's one of the things I talk about in my book is self-awareness is the beginning of self-care. You can't take action if you don't know there's a problem. But in terms of motive, this kind of goes back to those crutches, those short-term fixes that nurses use, those addictions. They think that if I just do this, or if I'm just in the industry long enough, it'll get better. Biggest myth we teach each other and tell ourselves.
You mean like it'll just take care of itself?
Mm-hmm. Big misbelief.
That what it'll get better means?
Pardon?
What about you personally? I know you caught it early, but did you have any health signs or mental health signs? Go to both of those. Health, literal health, and then mental health. Give us a couple red flags you experienced on both of those fronts, if you could.
For sure. So the thought of going into work, by the time that I was at my rock bottom, the thought of going into work filled me with angst. I was like, oh my goodness, I have to go into work. What if I make a mistake?
You mean like literal anxiety?
Yes. Yeah.
Why? What was it about work that made you?
I was burnt out. I was like overwhelmed because of the workload. I was, I didn't know how to deal with a patient or a family member physically or emotionally, verbally abusing me. Again, I wasn't taught this stuff. And then again,
verbally abusing you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Why? What'd you do?
I was the same thing. No, it's just, when people are ill and they are stressed, their loved ones are, obviously not doing well, or they themselves are in pain. People's tempers are this short. And so it's understandable to some degree.
You get in there and you make my mother comfortable. I don't care what you do. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just started acting in the last year. Just letting you all know I just started acting, and so sometimes it just takes over. But you said they don't teach you that. They don't teach you anything about how to not carry it, how not to take it personally.
Nope.
Okay, so what talk about what you do. So how do you prepare nurses for a career minus the burnout?
Yeah. Look, I follow 6 steps, and that's why my book is titled The Ultimate 6-Step Guide to Beating Nurse Burnout. Is, we really got to start with where am I at, taking stock of what's happening for me, because again, like we talked about, people, if you don't know, you can't do anything. So we bring in awareness, and then we start looking at our belief systems around where we would like to be. And if they're not aligned, we can't get there. You know, it's like saying, I want to get from this island to that island, but you're trying to take a car across. It's not going to work. You need a boat. So that's the first two, you know, kind of steps that we go over. And then we start looking at the more practical stuff. We look at nutrition, we look at sleep, we look at habits. And my favorite of all, and what I personally do to this day, I mean, obviously I do all the other things, but this is something that I have to remind myself constantly to do, is learning how to unwind from our shifts, learning how to unwind from our life going into shifts.
So a decompressing of sorts, letting the air out of the tank.
Absolutely, because otherwise
give us a couple of suggestions on that. I could use a tip or two on how to do that. How do you do that? What are some of the most successful ways to kind of chill?
Look, it depends what kind of person you are. I'm personally not a journaler, so I discovered and have held onto this one technique of unwinding, and it's called a brain dump. Literally, you dump what's in your brain out.
So if you're not journaling, though, what do you do? Stop the cork out and just let it pour out? How do you get it out? Where's it go?
Something like that, pretty much. No, it's basically, you know, no matter what device you use or system you use, so if you're a pen and paper person or if you're a typing person, just getting it out, what you're feeling, what experiences you had, you know, your to-dos, everything. Like if something comes to mind, write it down. You know, I need to feed the dog, write it down. That person just cut in front of me in traffic, write it down, or whatever. And then you can kind of create your to-dos from there, and just essentially you empty out your brain and you just leave it there so that you can kind of get perspective of, okay, what's happening? How much of this is real? How much of this have I, you know, kind of made bigger than it is?
Yeah.
And then now I can take
I remember when I'm sorry, we have a little overlap, you guys, because she's all the way in Australia and I'm here. So it's not like we just don't know when to shut up, the two of us. That's what's happening. Just letting you know. But you know, when I was in foster care, and I remember there was a point, one particular age stands out, like I was turning 13, it had been a couple years already, and I was not dealing with the anger at all. And I remember I had a caseworker who, she took me out and said, when you feel like this, just come out and yell at a tree. And she just scream at and take it out. And I was like, woman, are you crazy? And then she did it, and I felt jealous. I was like, wow, okay. So I did it, and you know, it worked. And I did that for a number of years. I would drive out somewhere and I just get out and I just scream, and it doesn't take long, just getting it out. So what about physical things? Like, were you having trouble sleeping? Did your appetite wane? Were you short in temper with people? What were some of the top red flags or warning signs for you?
Yeah. Tick, tick, tick. All of the above. Okay. And then also I would get home and, you know, I would be like, no one talk to me. I need to just be alone. And obviously fair enough, especially after really tough shifts, you do need to decompress in that way. But I, you know, the way I teach things these days is you got to do it in a more resourceful way, because you obviously want to show up, especially if you're a mum. I know for me, I don't want to come home and be like, my kids shouldn't talk to me. My ideal self wants to be able to embrace.
Yes, right.
You know, we're all loving each other. But if you don't know how to decompress and let out that little bit of steam, then obviously you're going to be like, stay away. So for me, a couple other red flags was I kind of laugh at it just thinking back. I was living off of 6 cups of coffee or tea a day minimum. Like that, I needed it to keep going. As a result, I wasn't sleeping well, and not just the fact that I was caffeine infused. I was also unsure. I didn't know how to deal with the trauma. I didn't know how to deal with the shift changes, so that impacted my sleep. I certainly wasn't exercising. My self-confidence was going down the drain because I felt like I was gaining weight when I didn't want to be gaining weight, because I was just chowing down on all the snacks and, emotional eating at the nurse's desk, because I don't know what it's like in America, but we are not allowed to be given any gifts that isn't something that you can eat or share with the rest of the ward, or flowers. You can get flowers as a ward.
And I was going to say, because when I left, I took stuff for like 3 weeks in a row. I took stuff. I made special trips to 7 West to drop off stuff in the break room. And my nurses were never there when I dropped off stuff. And I was like, I wonder if they're going to save some so they know it was even here. But I will say this. Every time I watched them take it into that little room, that little break room, there was already all kinds of stuff all over on the counters.
So just, that sugar rush just to get you through that, emotional eating of like, I feel awful. I need to just, and then it's that whole mental thing of like, what am I doing? That's another one. Like, there's just so many red flags, and I was like, oh, it must be normal. Like, I'm new. And then the more I discovered these new strategies, the more I realized actually it's not normal. It's not okay. And there is another way.
Well, a lot of this, though, I would assume, Janelle, is really not the nurse's fault. When I say fault, I mean things that are out of their control. The paperwork, picking up the shifts, or I know sometimes they'll shut down a ward and make them work somewhere else because of occupancy. There's all kinds of, and it's a very political world. The nursing world is very political.
Oh, yes.
And so there's all that kind of stress and whispers and innuendo and rumors and myths and monsters under the beds and threats and attitude, and I can't stand that bitch, And I'm not talking about a nurse and a patient. I'm talking about two nurses.
Oh yes, absolutely. I teach that the system is broken. We probably won't be able to fix the system, but what's important is how do we live in the system? It's about how we respond. What is within our control? Because there's so many things that are out of our control. We are going to be understaffed because nurses are leaving the industry for as long as we don't teach how to be how to have a resourceful, sustainable, long-term career. We're going to have nurses leaving left, right, and center until that happens. If nurses are burnt out, they're going to have short tempers. Of course, the relationships within the team is going to break down. Just imagine if our personal relationships are breaking down, of course, our professional relationships are going to be breaking down. And so that's my major thing is we can't let the system happen to us. We need to use it to our advantage as much as we can, and with as much resources as we can. And if you don't have the resources, let's find some and, let's do something about it.
Hi, Lucy. Now, listen, I don't know if you know this, if you can answer this or not, but if you can, please speak to it. Have you seen in your research and whatnot, Janelle, where one country is doing better than others in the nurse burnout sector? Is this something that seems to be pretty much across the board?
It's across the board. I'm not going to lie, I've only really talked to a couple major countries, like nurses in major countries like USA, Canada, UK, New Zealand, and obviously in Australia. Very, very similar. Like I say, it's same, but slightly different to varying degrees. But it's all up there. And I honestly attribute it to a lack of training. And also because of the lack of training, we don't know how to speak up. Many nurses just allow the system to roll over them, or the higher ups to roll over them, and not kind of stand up for what they need or what they want. And then we get a pet rock to say, you are the rock of this hospital. Happy Nurses International Nurses Day. It's like, well, thank you so much. I feel so valued.
Yeah.
So there are things like that does impact. But there are other things that we can do to help mitigate.
And one of the other things is on the screen right now. So tell everybody, tell the viewers about what we're looking at here on the screen and where they can get it?
Yeah. So I recently created this free on-demand video training called How to Create the Work-Life Balance and Self-Care You Need as a Nurse without burning out and without leaving the industry that you love, and doing that guilt-free. And the reason why I add the guilt-free part is, again, that whole thing of we love just pouring from an empty cup. So it's learning how to become healthily selfish. It's a term that I've kind of, taken on, is we need to learn how to become healthily selfish. So in that training, I kind of identified the top 3 myths that nurses believe around beating and preventing burnout. One of it is learning how to unwind and thinking that, if I'm just in the industry long enough, it'll get better. Other things are like, if I can't say no, if I keep saying no, then I'm going to be invalid. I'm going to be a bad team member. So we want to be a valuable team member and learning how to say no. And then the third one is, I'm having a complete blank, so I can't remember what it is now. But, we just go over these 3 things that identify the key areas that nurses, need to move through and take the next step to learn how to beat and prevent burnout, because it is possible.
What did you say the third one was?
I can't remember. My brain's just left it somewhere.
Oh,
I'll have to go find
probably
it.
That's the third one. Don't let this happen to you. No, let me tell you what that is. That's called, in your case, a junior moment, which eventually, after a few years, will morph into being known as a senior moment. So
fair enough.
Welcome.
I will take it on.
It happens. It happens. Brain fog is a real thing, and it always has been. So listen.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, nursing we got a couple different roads for people to find you. Tell them about nursingthenurse.com. When they go there, who is that for, and what will they find?
So what they will find there, it's essentially just an information page on my free training. So if you are looking to identify, am I in burnout? Is this something that, is related to me or not? Then that is absolutely for you. If you're wanting to take that next step and learn a bit about what you can do next to start your journey towards beating and preventing burnout. And then the other option I have for people is if you just want community, which I'm all about, because you can't do it alone. Many of us try, not possible for long-term sustainability. So I've created a beautiful group called Nursing the Nurse on Facebook. And we've got about 650 odd nurses in there, and regularly share some inspiration and hints and tips, and, just share other ways that you can get involved in our community and learn more about other programs, such as my walkthrough program, which goes over every aspect in my book, as well as we go deeper in that with group coaching and things like that. And then the other side of things is also that holistic Huddle app, where I've subcontracted with a physiotherapist, a nutritionist, and a mindset coach that tailor to the unique needs of the nurse. Because like I said before, when we don't have tailored information, it's very hard to know that it's actually going to work for you. So that's what we're all about in Nursing the Nurse.
Oh, love it. Love it. Community is key. Community is getting in there and just chopping it up with people from different perspectives, you guys. So you had considered dropping out of the field of nursing, but then changed your mind. So how do you feel about nursing now?
Now I acknowledge that it is a very tough industry to be in, and that it's not going to get easier, but when we learn how to deal with it better, it's doable. Not just doable, we can actually thrive. You go from I'm drowning to, okay, it's doable, I'm all right, and then go, actually, right, I've got this. Especially once you've got those skills. So for me, I was very much in I need to get out, I need to give up on this dream of helping others. But now I'm at a place where I can go, that's okay. I know now when to say no. I know now, and doing it in a graceful way, and doing it humbly rather than just being like, nah. Well,
I got to ask you this. So, you know how they say doctors, when they're in medical school, they don't take any classes on nutrition? Do you ever see, maybe you could do it or should do it, curriculum in pre-nursing and nursing school that speaks to, I think they should have an entire class or two on avoiding burnout. Just like I think when recruiters are talking to young people about enlisting in the military, they should talk. There should be a whole section on possible PTSD. You could serve for 2 to 4 years or whatever, and your life never be the same because of 4 little letters.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what you're actually signing up for?
Exactly. And that is absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head, because that's exactly where I envision Nursing the Nurse to go. That's why I'm here, is to share that and kind of.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's my absolute.
I see you doing that, Janelle.
To get into universities and be able to teach nurses exactly that.
I see.
Couldn't have said it better.
No, but let me tell you something. I didn't just say it. I'm telling you, because you all know out there that watch me all the time or know me all these years. That's one of my divine gifts. I get brief glimpses inside of the greatness of certain people and the potential of greatness within certain people. And I'm telling you, I didn't just say it. I saw it. I literally saw it. And I hope you pursue it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it definitely is awesome. I'm so glad. I want to encourage everybody to get over and check out, especially, if you know a nurse or have a nurse or someone that's in a high anxiety, a stockbroker, an educational person who works in education. There are a lot of fields with a lot of burnout. Corporate, you all are getting chewed up by the second, and don't you count out yourselves. Entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, all of us need to take a look at what's inside of this work. You see, you don't need to be a nurse, but you certainly need to listen to one. And the one today is on the screen. Janelle, I just want to say, Janelle Classen, always classing up the place. She's always classing it up. I know, I just couldn't resist. I just am so proud of the work you're doing. I really am. And I'm going to actually get us out of here a couple minutes early because I want you to hang out backstage for a second. I want to talk to you real quick. And because I have a meeting right at the top of the hour. So I just want to make sure I yell at you before we leave each other's presence. I am so encouraged. This is your Jerry Springer moment. So as a nurse and as a person who has experienced burnout, if you could leave people with one diehard reason that you know to be true why burnout should be something you keep your eye on in your own journey, the most important thing you could say would be why? Why is it so important?
Keeping an eye on being burnout or your level of burnout is the key to it's actually the difference between, you being able to sustain doing something that you love versus giving up on it or running away from it. If I can quickly I'm going to squeeze in a quick metaphor here, is when we run away from our problem, and that in this instance, it's burnout. If we keep running away from it, I like to think of it as you're going down a river or a stream in your canoe. You pick up that canoe, you walk back up when you get to rapids because you don't want to deal with the rapids. But guess what? You're going to get back to the rapids again. And that's, we got to kind of take on that headspace and make that decision, choose resilience, push through, look for what's going to work, and move through that rapids knowing it's going to be hard. But when you get back at the end of it and through it, there's calm waters. And
it's
so it
calm waters. Ooh-wee. Yes, that's a good one right there. We all love that's calm water, blue waters. Those are those blue waters. Stay out of those red waters where the piranhas and the sharks and nothing but,
and they're temporary. You can take action.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much for all your work. And I just want to, what did I wrote? Oh, I believe back in the day, like in my grandma's days, I remember them. Oh, did you hear? Minnie Douglas had a nervous breakdown. I believe Minnie Douglas was burned out. That's what it is. They used to call it a bunch of different things, but burnout is real and it has real repercussions. make sure it doesn't happen to you, or at least do something to slow it down. Okay, listen, get out of here. Thank you so much, everybody. Janelle, we'll see you the next time you got something you want to come back in for a status check. You're welcome to be here. Come here, stay here. Let's see. You guys, listen, get out of here. Go find just a little itty bitty piece of your highest self. Bring it over to where you stand right now, and you will automatically be greater, brighter, stronger, bolder, and my personal favorite, nicer, kinder. There's an extra one for you. Take it with you. Don't let my screen door slam on the way out of here. And I promise, God willing, I'll meet you all tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central, right over there on the front porch. So again, we can have another illuminated conversation. I'm Dr. Loren. I love you. And guess what? There ain't a damn thing you can do about it. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you, Janelle. Great job. Stay backstage. I'll be right there.